What is happening, people? How you doing? Let me get rid of this thing. Where is it? Can't find it. What a terrible start. How's everybody doing? We're in. I hope everyone's happy and healthy doing the things they love with the people that they love doing them with. Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I am Sean Butler. Sorry about having to change the intro up. I don't know if you guys were watching yesterday, but as I said to you yesterday, as soon as I put the stream on, monetization was immediately limited. And I don't know why. So I've left monetization off. And I didn't know whether or not it was because in the intro video that I have, when I'm in that clip from last season or season before last now with Steven Bergwijn, I swear in it. And maybe that's what the cause is. So I thought I would just change it up for a little while and see what's going on. Anyway, how are you guys? How's everyone doing? I think it's just going to be me today. I thought I would just come in because I went out for a walk with Bugsy, I'll be honest, and she was a little pain. She was a pain. Every time I tried to record something, she was barking. And then when she was being nice, then I couldn't get the words out and ended up getting through the entire walk and I didn't have a good take. So I thought I'd just come on and say hi in person and do what I haven't done enough, which was, communicate with you guys in the chat. And I want to have this as like a tete-a-tete, me versus or me with you, getting our thoughts out on a couple of topics. One of them is Dejan Kulusevski's comments regarding the contract and why it took so long and the frustrations. Then I want to pivot to what Ali Gold said about that Tottenham are looking for a young winger who can replace Lucas and Danjuma, but that has all of the criteria that a wing forward, an inside forward, or some sort of forward in the Postecoglou system is required to have. Let's get through and say hello to some people in the comments. Let me just quickly, before I do, let me just see if I can turn this on now and see what happens. Bear with me 1 second, guys. Please smash the like button for me on the video as you come in, like you're taking your shoes off. Hit the like button for me. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. We are only, I think, like 100 away now or something, maybe 110 from 9K. So 1,100 away from the big 10K, guys. It's exciting stuff. It's a mental amount of growth going on. Let's see who's in the chat. Sakil, Harry Harron's here. How you doing, Sakil? He says, bye, Pepe and Bremer. Yeah, look, we're going to talk about Gleison Bremer. There's a report out from Daily Express about him today. He's on my list of things to discuss with you. And we can, of course, get the Y-Scout tool out if we want to, guys. And we can go searching. We can go scouting ourselves for players in that forward role. Who else is here? Chris Agomba's in the house. Hey, Sean, everyone in the chat. What's happening, Chris? Good to see you, my man. Amir is in the house as well. What's happening, Amir? Big up, Chris, he's saying. Paulie's in the house. Afternoon, Sean, in the chat. Let's hope Ange gets exactly what he wants. Alex Postecoglou is in the house. Come on, Sean, give us some good news. Okay, I can give you some good news, actually. I can give you some good news about my health. I finally got some results back on some of the issues or some of the tests I've been having. I got some back this morning. And they told me that, in a nutshell, without getting into the specifics, there's nothing officially or apparently wrong with my bile duct, with my pancreas, or with my gallbladder. And that the initial ultrasounds that showed that there was an issue, those things were debunked. Those myths were debunked like a not in the know, like a tier 3 in the know source. Nothing wrong in that regard. I do have something called a stage 3 fatty liver, a non-alcoholic fatty liver. So I've got to work on that, but that can be changed with diet and exercise and that sort of thing. And I'm already on that path. I've already lost quite a lot of weight and I'm going to continue to. And the other thing I've got, which is easy to manage, is a hiatus hernia in my esophagus. And the gastroscopy was going to go and see if they needed to take a sample or whatever to see if it was cancerous. Apparently, they didn't need to because it didn't show that. So I can take medication to kind of control those problems. So as far as I'm aware, I've still got a couple more tests to go. But thus far, all of the bad things, all of the stuff that was terrifying me has been thus far chalked off. So good news, Alex. Good news, mate. I still got horrible pains, though, all over my abdomen. So sometimes it's not that great news when they tell you there's nothing wrong, but you're still in pain all the time. James Flowers, new to the channel. Big up, James. Good to see you, mate. Thanks for stopping by. Smash the subscribe if you haven't already, my man. Zuki Spurs in the house saying, die hard Tottenham, stand firm. Let's see who else is here. Drew Zilla's in the house. Big up all. Big up Spurs Talk Show. Listening on the way to work. Good man. Where do you work, buddy? What do you do for a living? Let me know. Who else we got in the house? We got ADX1 and Adaxons. I don't know how you say that. We need Madison and some defensive investments. Yes, we do. Who else? One Delowitz is here. What's happening? My man. As is Liquid Len. As is West Sydney Flamengo. Big up from Australia, boys. Big up, mate. Whereabouts in Australia are you from? I lived in Melbourne for about 3 years, back in 2014 to 2016. Best time of my life, if I'm honest. Walter Bobo's here. Pedro Porro can play as a winger. I think he can too. I want to know what you guys think about Brian Hill, because I'm going to get through some news in a minute, and Brian Hill's name is mentioned in it. Forgive the perspiration. It's incredibly hot here in London again today. Who else we got? Foggy Foam. We got Daniel Borden saying, afternoon, Sean. Good to see you nice and early. Yeah, man. Yeah. As I said, Bugsy. Can you hear her? I don't know if you can hear her. She's barking again. She's out of control, that dog. I should stream the walks. I should. Well, maybe I could try that one day. It's just difficult. There's always people that are passing by and stuff and whatever. Chris Welsh is here. Hard not to swear as a Spurs fan. 24 Z's in the house. What's happening, 24, my man? Good to see you. You should apply for Spurs scout job. You love the show. Appreciate it, Stephen. I don't think they would hire me, mate. I'm just a guy with an opinion. I don't have any of the credentials. I don't think. Never done coaching or anything. So I do appreciate the feedback. Kulu has been messed about. It must have been annoying. Yeah, I'm going to bring up. That's going to be the first topic. Let me just get through and say hello to some people. Edward Park, Brian Hill, obviously the most obvious choice. David's in the house. What's happening, David? Who else haven't I said hello to? Being Avishek, big up. I show skills. Take a look at Facundo Medina. He's the perfect fit for us. We looked at him yesterday. We can get him up again. We kind of uncovered, mate, that the stats on him, unless you know how Lens or Lon play football, and I don't. I'm not familiar. I don't watch Liga and that much, and I certainly don't watch that particular team. We figured out they play in a 3-4-3. The stats suggested that would be the case. But he looks like someone who is basically not a left back because he doesn't really do any defensive work. And his stats relative to other defenders are incredible for all the things he does on the ball. Absolutely sensational, like 99th percentile for everything. But that would be similar if you were to ask Harry Kane to play as a left back, but also not ask him to have to worry about doing any defensive work. Then you take the point, right? I just don't think I don't know enough about him, or I haven't seen enough about his defensive work to see whether he could do the defensive side of the game, because it doesn't look like he has that many responsibilities in that department for Lens. How do you say that club's name? Is it Long? Whatever, let me know. Congrats on the health news. Cheers, Robert. Appreciate that, mate. Appreciate all the well wishes, guys. Really do. Yeah, it's been a bit of a weight off my chest. Look at that. Look at the support you guys are showing me. Absolutely spot on from you lot. I love you. I have been losing weight. Yeah, I'm down. I know I'm still very much overweight, but I'm down about 1.5 stone, like 20 pounds. So it's going in the right direction. Where did I get to? All right, listen. Take off your hat. My hat's there. Look, people think I'm bald. My hair's wet. I just got out of the shower, but I'm not. I just like I like putting the hat on. It's part of my thing. It's part of my brand, I guess. A brand. Can't believe I just said that. Ugh. Cringe. Remove that. Don't clip that. All right, guys. Oh, it's Lens. Lens. Okay. All right. Let's get up. I want everyone to chime in on this one, guys. Let's get up the Kulusevski stuff, shall we? Because I think it's I've been on some Twitter debates today. Not Twitter. WhatsApp. And a few people are taking it in different directions. There's the second quote there, but I'm going to start with the first quote. So Kulusevski on his transfer saga says, I don't think the situation has been handled the way it should be handled, but I'm happy that everything is ready now and that it will be Tottenham. Of course, I would have wished that everything had been clear much earlier and that I should not sit and wait for a decision to be made. But with how it turned out with the coaches in the club and that the club had to change a lot of people, I understand that it took extra time, that you had to wait for the new people to come in and to be able to ask them. It has been hard to wait. You always want to know where you are going to live. Finally, I can plan for the future and find a new home. That is followed up by a second quote. Ooh. Where you gone? What's just happened? Has it just refreshed on me? Has it just refreshed on me? What the hell? Hang on 1 second. I was about to read out a quote and it's just refreshed. Here we go. I understand that he was very interested in me. This is him on Postecoglou. Glad we are getting a new coach with new ideas. What I have read and heard about him is good. All right. So there's two ways you can take that one, guys, right? He's unhappy, or he was unhappy. He's annoyed with the club for not giving him clarification, and he's frustrated and he's vocalizing his frustrations. And if he's saying that in the public sphere, then what has he been going through personally? What has he been saying personally? The other way, which I think is far more likely, is he's just saying how it is. Look, I would like to have had clarification earlier, but I get it. It's not just about me. I'm a team player, and I understand that there's lots of changes going on, and that the new manager has to come in and run his eye over me and tell me whether or not, or tell the club whether or not they want me. And look, if he was so annoyed by the whole thing that he didn't want to stay at Tottenham and he felt disrespected, he could have said, you know, screw this. There's two parties to this conversation, and or three parties, the two clubs and myself, and I don't like the way I've been treated. So I don't think any of that's the case. Let me know what you guys think. 24Z is saying Kulu seems very mature. I like it. He does seem mature. How is he? He's only 23 years old, isn't he? He does. I think he's only 23 years old. Your brand is the local butcher look. Yeah, or a farmer. Could be a farmer. Like it's not a pork pie hat. I do live near a farm, you know. You missed the health news. That is great. If you have had good news, mate. Yeah, well, like I say, it's. I mean, I still feel as bad as I've been feeling for a while, but the significant stuff is out the way. So I'm pleased with that. You'd have to be very sensitive to be annoyed by what Kulu had to say. I don't think what he said was a problem. I don't think it's what he said is a problem either. You know, and the fact is, I also think he's just turned 23. Is he 24? Yeah, man. Very mature. I remember what I was doing at 23, and it wasn't forming cogent arguments in the public sphere. But yeah, I think he seems intelligent. I think he's going to work well in this system. Like I say, though, I do think he has to spend a lot of the time of this summer doing whatever they do to recover hamstring injuries, like lots of massage, lots of sports, you know, sports massage stuff, maybe some laser therapy on it. You've got to get those tissues as correct as possible, because once they scar, then there's always like the hamstrings. As far as I'm aware, not that I'm a doctor or any kind of physical therapist, but from what someone's told me, once they scar, depending on which direction they scar in the hamstring, then it creates like just ongoing weaknesses on the edges of the scarring, which allows for frequent revisiting of the problem, if that makes sense. What was he saying? I remember what I was doing at 23 was doing 6 months. Really? Sorry to hear that, mate. Hope everything is hope everything's okay now. Paddy Harness now. What's happening, Paddy? Good to see you, mate. Good to see you, buddy. Good luck with you're in the top 5, aren't you, for people that are overseas Spurs supporters things? You're down to the final 5. I hope you get selected, mate. It'd be nice to get that done. Yeah, just honest and direct, mate. 100%. For me, I feel like, do you guys? Is there anybody in the chat? There's 233 watching. By the way, smash the like for me and hit the subscribe if you haven't already. Really appreciate that. Is there anybody in the chat who wasn't bothered if he stayed or went? Or is there anybody in the chat who feels like it wasn't good value? Oh, that was a joke, mate. Sorry. Next time you did put a ha-ha in there, didn't you? Yeah, sorry, mate. Sorry. Didn't see that one. That's the problem with text, right? Things can fly over the head or under the radar. Yeah, does anybody feel like Decky isn't going to fit the system? Does anybody? Why is this thing not focusing? Focus. Does anybody feel like it's not that he's not going to be able to kind of put his best foot forward? Or does anybody think that maybe we saw the real Kulusevski last season and we got the player equivalent of a new manager bounce for that kind of the final 4 months of the 21-22 season. I personally don't. I think Kulu's going to be, once he gets fully fit again and in a system that works for him, I think he is going to be a real asset. But that said, I do think that he needs to become a little bit more adaptable. You know, he's not someone that can beat a man on acceleration or beat a man on pace, but he is someone that has the power and the strength to hold players off. He's a wonderful player that can, and I think he's technically very good. His passing range is pretty solid. He's got a good cross on him. You know, I think I think he'll do well. What are we saying here? 24Z saying, no, he rates him. He's glad we kept him around. Liquid Lens saying, I prefer to keep him here. Yeah, I prefer to keep him as well. Great value, says Paul. He does need to step up. I agree with you. I think the last season was a bit of a flat one. But then you can make that argument about all the team, the entire team. And like I've said 100 times, for me personally, I feel like confidence is such a massively key ingredient in any successful team. Understanding the system, being able to get on each other's wavelength, read between the lines, figure out, you know, second guess each other. All of that stuff is important, but that stems from confidence. And I think that last season, the biggest problem in our squad was the lack of confidence. He got ripped away from us, got absolutely ripped away from us. And every single one of the players felt it, maybe with the exception of Harry Kane. Not sure Kulu has the legs to press. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people are making the argument to say, well, we can strip the squad down to like a bare 20 because we're only playing one game a season. And whilst I take the point, I absolutely take the point. I think if you are doing the high press, then it's an exhausting system to play. And you have to have incredible fitness, but you also have to have, you know, the preparedness to be able to make changes. And of course, you know, you get more subs now than you used to. But, you know, does he have the legs to press? Yeah, I think he does, but maybe not for 90 minutes. And that's why we're going to need to have options, right? We're going to need to have options. I want to talk in a minute about this Ange Postecoglou story about the Brisbane Roar thing and how he knew when his team got it. It's quite an interesting story. 24 saying he's too intelligent of a player for me for it not to work in multiple positions, if that makes sense. Yeah, it does, yeah. Well, that's a lot of people are talking about whether he plays on the right, whether he comes in and plays on the right number 8, the advanced number 8, and also that Postecoglou goes to a 4-2-3-1 at times. And in that situation, you could play him in the 10, you could play him on the right. I don't know how often he's going to do that with the double pivot. Time will tell. Also, just whilst we're at it, did anybody see Alistair Gold's article? I think I've got it up, actually. I think I've got it somewhere in my list here. I'll try and find it. But in the part where he's talking about Tottenham's search for a young winger that can dribble, attack, and be direct and go at players, but also has the press, he's suggesting that Bissouma can play anywhere in the 3 midfield positions in either of the 2 number 8s up the top end of the pitch. I don't know if that's the same as Bissouma. 24Z, I know you're going to hate me for saying this. I know he's your boy. I know Bissouma's your boy. But the guy has scored 3 goals in like 155 games in the Premier League. I don't think he can play in any of the 2 number 8s. He's a 6. He might be able to play in the Hatate role for like where Celtic played, that on the left of the 2 number 8s. But the Matt O'Reilly role that's supposed to get up there and join the front 5, I don't know about that. I have to disagree with Ali Golden. I don't usually disagree with him too often. ISO Skills is saying he's technically good, but he just doesn't have the pace. Yeah, he doesn't have the pace. You're right. He beats you with intelligence, 100%. Addix is saying, I mean, I kind of wanted him to go as if Maddison comes in, he can't convert into a midfielder as he won't get game time. I don't see him as a wide winger due to his pace. That's interesting. That is interesting. So where do you see... So, Alex, let me ask you this then, mate. Do you see, if it's the 4-3-3, do you see Harry Kane playing in the 9 and having the 2 wingers? So who would that be? Porro or someone else and then you see Maddison playing in the 8 if he comes in. Where does Richarlison fit into that system? Or is Richarlison going to spend another season on the bench? At 23, I was barred, and at 25 and 27, always the quiet ones. 100%. Good to see you, Chris, mate. Bugsy back on the naughty step again. Mate, she's been an absolute, like, rotten dog this morning, ruining my walkies. I know it's her walkies, but it's my walkies, really. James Maddison, 20 goal assist from midfield, Sean. Cam on. Yeah. James Maddison and Harvey Barnes, I think, got 32 goal assists between them or something, didn't they? Madness. You've heard news that Arteta might leave Arsenal. Did you hear the news this morning about a Premier League manager, a Premier League boss that's been accused? I'm not sure if he's been charged, but he might have been accused of having forcefully had intercourse with a teenager. Allegedly. I mean, I'm not saying anyone's name, but like the rumors are not going around. I don't know if there's any link there. ADX, got no idea, mate. But these Premier League people, it's a ridiculously high allocation. Like the accusations per 100 people in society versus in the Premier League, it's disproportionate, isn't it? One dingo, what's happening, mate? Kulusevski is a bargain deal. Yeah, I think he's 25 million. You got to give Daniel Levy credit. It's difficult to give him credit in some people's eyes, but I think it's I think on this one he's done well. The payment of the deal is an interesting one. Could allow us to spend on other areas. You hope so, mate. You hope so. Make Kulu a left-footed centre back. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the thing with that Medina. We'll look at Medina in a minute. What else we got? Where we going? Bissouma wasn't attacking mid. Was he? Was he an attacking mid? He scored 3 goals in 150 games. I've never seen him hit the ball well. Every time he's ever got in an attacking position, he gets altitude sickness. I don't remember him ever being he's a box-to-box player. He sometimes got into attacking positions with Brighton, but the system suited him. I don't think Bissouma could play in the furthest forward of the 3. Like in the Maddison role. No chance. I can't see that happening. That's why listen, to each their own. Everyone's got an opinion, and that's brilliant. But I just do not see. I think that some of these players that we have that are kind of jack of all trades, masters of none. I think that the Postecoglou system requires masters of each position. And I think that I'm not worried because I think that he'll be able to adapt some of these players. But from what we've seen of them right now, I don't know which position Bissouma suits perfectly. Of any of them, it's probably the 6. Maybe outside argument for the Hatate role, but I don't know. Let me know if you agree. If you're playing under a coach that wants to press, then it is obvious the coach will train them to press like what Pochettino is like. Yeah, 100 exactly the point I was just making, Darren. Yeah, he'll train some of these players up. So. We'll see what happens. Sean, do you remember him in the cup against us last season? He was taking the mickey, dribbling in the final third, but cut back in and banged it, deflected off Dier, I think. He's capable, but I agree mostly. Who are we talking about? Is that about Bissouma? Are you talking about the season before last? I'm not sure who you're talking about. I don't think we've drifted off of anyone else, have we? Came as a midfielder before he became a striker. That is true. Arteta ain't leaving. Asna to PSG, no chance. I don't think we will sign a DOF. Thoughts? I think we will get round to it, mate, Tony. I think we'll get round to it. I actually have a problem with the fact that it's not been done yet, not because of the incomings, but because of the outgoings. There's so many people we need to get rid of, and you can't expect Postecoglou to waste time trying to figure out like who the new homes are going to be. That's not his role. If he's coming and said, I don't need a DOF, I can tell you the players I need, and then over to Levy and Scott Munn to go and figure out the homes, then so be it for the incomings. But for the outgoings, you don't want Postecoglou wasting precious time worrying about those homes. And Scott Munn doesn't have, in my opinion, from what I've read of him, any of the kind of black book, any of the relationships in European football where he can phone up his mates and say, I want to get rid of this, whatever. The relationships with the agents and things. I just don't think he's got any of those things locked in like the other directors of football that we've had prior have had. And consequently, all those calls are going to be cold. And coming from someone who used to be a salesman, cold calls are a lot more difficult than warm calls. So if Scott Munn is the guy doing that stuff, it's a lot harder if you don't have experience with European football and you don't have relationships with European clubs. So, yeah, look, I think we will get around to a DOF. But to be honest, I'm a little bit irritated that we haven't got it done already. Obviously, there's the rumours that Paratici is still working in the background. If he is, I don't know why he is. He shouldn't be. Yeah. Just as you thought the world couldn't get any worse. Yeah, the managers are at it as well now, apparently. Not just the players, the managers are at it. Interesting to see who that winger we could go for. Is it a right winger or a left winger? Well, I would probably imagine it's going to be a left winger, Foggy, because you've got Kulusevski that can play on the right. You've got Pedro Porro that can play on the right. If we bring in James Maddison, he can play in the 10 or he can play on the right of the 3. We haven't really got anyone to play on the left apart from Sonny and Brian Hill, if that's where you see him. But, is Brian Hill going to be the guy? I don't mind Brian Hill coming. I'm a big fan of Brian Hill. I like Brian Hill. I just don't know whether he wants to be here. I don't think a European Cup winner should have to sit on the bench again anyway. He should get more minutes. But if he comes in and is given a clean chance and has a clean slate with Postecoglou's going to have to run his eye over him and figure out whether or not he can handle the strengths and the roles that are very, as I say before, specific to his system. And I personally think that Brian Hill will be someone that it will work, will run, will press. And in a minute, when I get through some of these, we'll look up on the Y Scout tool and figure out, who is the best wing forward in the game, who's of a reasonable price, that can do the things that we need. I'm going to get to that story in a second. Have I watched Lille games? I haven't, mate. I haven't. Who are you talking about? Watch Lille. Why? Who are you talking about, Ayazi? Not sure. You're talking about Bissouma. You're talking about Bissouma. You were okay, got it. Okay, we've moved on from Bissouma. Hot take from Nick. What's happening, Nick? Good to see you, mate. Ryan Mason equals shadow DOF. Yeah, maybe. He does everything else, doesn't he? Max Kilman links keeps popping up. Says Flamengo, Ibanez or Kilman. If you had a gun to my head and I had to choose one of those two, I would probably go with Max Kilman. That's an interesting one, actually. That is an interesting one. I think there's less risk with Kilman. He's underwhelming. Don't get me wrong. Like he's a bit. He's like a 7 out of 10 sort of. He's got the experience in the Premier League. He's the girl next door. You know what you're going to get. Trustworthy, reliable, never going to break your heart. Ibanez is probably that. That crazy chick who's like smoking hot, but you sleep with her and then you wake up and your bits are wrapped between a pair of scissors because she dreamt that you cheated on her. Lunatic stuff. Yeah, that's what I think about Ibanez. I don't know. He is a lunatic waiting to happen, but he's a very, very talented player. Again, though, there is no experience with him in the Premier League, no experience to look at really where you can see him playing in a high line. At Roma, he plays on the left of a back 3, not in a 4. He's right-footed. A lot of risk, but also a lot of reward if he becomes an extraordinary player like he could do. It's the same with Romero, essentially. Like the ceiling is wildly higher than where they're currently playing at. It's just whether or not you want to take that risk on having both of those type of players in the same team. I think that you could end up with absolutely no centre-backs on the pitch by half-time on some experiences. Too much bad experiences, says Jeff L. I was just... Any chance you still have that girl's number? Asking for... Yeah, the type I'm talking about, right? Gives you the best sex of your life and then beats the crap out of you afterwards. I lived in Brooklyn in New York. I lived in New York for 2 years, 2.5 years, and I dated a couple of Latino girls, and they're crazy on the crazy hot spectrum. They're right up there, you know, volatile, and I think that's what Ibanez is doing as well. Anyway, smash the like button, guys. 350 odd people in the house. It's amazing for Monday lunchtime. Don't any of us have work to do? But yeah, smash the like, hit the subscribe if you haven't already as well. We're on the march towards we'll be on the march. So 9K is the next one. Let me see. I just want to dial in and see whether or not monetization is still on. Oh, it is on. There you go. I figured it out. Get rid of that. Get rid of that video. So you're probably not going to see that video anymore with me and Dave from the Irish Hotspur and Jack Kanicki doing the Stephen Bergwijn thing. Oh, that's a shame. It's a shame I'm going to have to put that in the archive. Let me see what Kate's saying. I think Kulu will be great after his injuries. Need better quality on the bench next season and get rid of Deadwood. We need centre backs. Yeah, too many bad experiences. Sean, Hollywood Hotspurs in the house. What's happening, Hollywood? Good to see you, mate. So happy for your continued success. Keep up the good work. I appreciate that, mate. Very nice for you to say. Very nice, mate. Mia, lol, so funny. Listen, Mia, you're Greek, aren't you? Is that right? Or is Cypriot? Greek Cypriot? Oh, I don't know too many people that are Greek. I don't until I've come into the community. And I know you, I know Saba, I know Ellie. I know there's quite a lot of people that are kind of like London Cypriot, I guess. And I've heard that Cypriots are like the European version of Latino. That they're, you know what I'm saying. Yeah. No comment. I'm not your age yet, so can't speak from experience, but he is in. Get yourself down to Mexico, young man. You'll have a good time. Boy from the lane, how good is that Pepe from Porto? Let's talk about him. Pepe from Porto is excellent. I was talking about him yesterday, and I think people thought I was talking about Pepe from Arsenal, who's on loan, because they were like, he's rubbish, he's gunk. I was like, well, no chance. What are you talking about? If you watch him, and I implore all of you to get after this stream, don't do it now, but go and look at Pepe from Porto on his highlight reel, and you tell me. Obviously, it's his highlight reel. If you can find a video that says everything touches, then look at that, because you'll see his weaknesses as well. I've seen. Obviously, I've used the Y-Scout tool for him, but I can't show the videos on here because I don't know if I'm going to get demonetized or not, and I don't want to go through that. But I don't think you'll find a player in the European top 5 leagues that has stickier feet. He can draw players in. He's press resistant when he's got the ball at his feet. His ability to drag the ball from his right to his left, to shift his weight. He's got such a low center of gravity. Can you see this? I'm not sure if you can see this. This is his stats. I'm not going to go through every single thing, but the key ones that are important: progressive carries, 3.4, like 3.5 progressive carries per 90s, and the top, there's only a couple of people that are better than him at that. Progressive passes that he's receiving, so he's always playing on the shoulder. People that are behind him are looking for him, playing through balls, and that's where he's at his best, on the right, or I think he can play on the left as well. He obviously chips in with goals as well, but this is again where you have to bear in mind. Okay, I'm going to zoom out a little bit just so that you can see. Oh, what have I done here? Just so that you can see the difference when you're comparing him to midfielders, right? Look at the green. He's basically better than all midfielders at the vast majority of things that are to do with goal threats and shooting. Passing, he becomes fairly average because he's not really a passer. He's the guy who's the receives the pass and then does the magical stuff. Think of like Jose Dominguez from circa 1997, but 10 times better. And obviously defensively he's not involved, but on the possession side of things, he's brilliant, right? Total carrying distance, progressive carries, as I say, carries into the final third, into the penalty area, 97th percentile against midfielders. But keep in mind that when you then click to attacking wingers, see how it changes? Suddenly, he's still up there with the goal threats because he's very capable with that stuff. But you can see that the green suddenly starts to pivot down a little bit. He's suddenly better. He's a little bit more competitive in the defensive side of things. But ultimately, this guy, when it comes to it, you're not going to be asking much from him on the ball, apart from you give the ball to him, and when players are going to get drawn to him, and he's going to be able to pivot, pull the ball left and right, and beat the man. It's almost like asking the centre back to have the ability to carry and progress the ball forward. If they can beat the first man, if they can beat the forward or the attacking midfielder of the opposition, then obviously the next man has to get sucked out. So he's doing his job just by beating the first man. That guy gets sucked out. You then pass it to somebody else who then finds the guy in the hole, and it creates a whole overload and overlap. And that's the value. With someone like Pepe, his value is going to be able to be, when he's got the ball at his feet, if people are pressing him, he can get out of trouble. He's super press resistant. Kind of like Benton Core is, but I'd say he's far better at it, but he does it in tighter situations because he's got the touchline right by his feet. So he doesn't have the kind of full 360 to go. In terms of whether or not he is willing to put in the work rate defensively, I don't know. The stats don't suggest that he's fantastic in terms of doing forward line presses. So he's a bit of a luxury player. But anyway, we're talking about a player that, as I said yesterday, I just don't think he's going to come to Tottenham. Pepe signed a deal 7 months ago and there's 4 years left. Do they have to sell? I think there's a release fee clause of like 70 odd million euros, 74 million euros, Zeddy, which is about what, 65 million, something like that. No, we're not talking about the centre back Pepe. We're talking no, he's 40 years old, isn't he, or something? We're talking about the right winger. Bournemouth have just sacked their head coach. Really? Wow. Let me see what Mia's is saying. It's okay. I'll smash a plate over his head. Might need a ladder though. Is that about me or someone else? Regretting what he's saying to me while saying it. Yeah, 100%. You can see me walking it back. Couldn't you, Nige? Just forget I said anything. Let's just move on. Let's move on. Custy's saying, is he going to PSG? Maybe. Yeah, that's one of the links. And look, like I say, I don't think he'll end up at Tottenham. But if he did, he'd be someone that would get the crowd off their feet. He is mad expensive, Walter, very much so. Dier is playing it smart by saying he was playing with an injury all season. Now decided he needs operation. I believe he is hoping that he will go unnoticed and try to stay at Spurs. When did he say he needs an operation? Is that new? When did that happen? Let me look. Have a look. Oh, that's not new information, is it? It was on his. Sorry, that was from May. Yeah, sorry. I'm getting all confused. That was ages ago. Mia, you do scare me. No. Well, like I say, it's always nice to have a little bit of fear, Mia. Respect and fear are very similar. I don't think you can have respect without a little bit of fear. Anyway, people seem to forget that Ange Postecoglou is an excellent coach. He will improve many players. Let's pivot to Ange Postecoglou for 1 second. I want to read this story out. I'm sure you might have seen it. Where's my share screen? Here we go. This is about the moment he knew that... Where am I going here? Here we go. Postecoglou explained in his book, Changing the Game, that sometimes that moment arrives during a heavy defeat. Oh, sorry, when we get back. He's basically saying the 57 brings with him a relentless version of attacking football with constant movement and pressing high up the pitch. He also encourages his players to take risks. And in the early months at each of his clubs, the results have been rocky before the team suddenly understands what he is asking of them and everything clicks. The penny drops. Postecoglou explains in his book, Changing the Game, that sometimes that moment arrives during a heavy defeat, as it did for his Brisbane Roar side against A-League. A-League's biggest club, Melbourne Victory, who coincidentally was at the time, I believe, managed by Scott Munn, who he would later coach on their own turf. A moment came while Victory were putting us under a lot of pressure, which was to be expected. He wrote, we had a transition move out of our defence and the ball found its way to Luke Dier, our young central defender. Luke received the ball and did what he was programmed to do, keep the ball and play it out from the back without reverting and just hoofing it upfield. He coughed up possession and Victory scored And then you wouldn't read about it, but 5 minutes or so later, the exact same thing happened. Same exact thing happened again. 2-0. You could hear the thoughts of the doubters approach their crescendo. There's a time to play and there's a time for Rosed. God, how many times have I heard that? But it was in that moment when the second error was made that I knew I had this team. Far from me scrambling to rearrange, redeploy, reset our game plan, I breathed a sigh of relief that the message and its meaning were now embedded. Think about the courage it takes for Luke to try playing out from the back again, the same thing for which he and his team had been punished only moments earlier, and to do it in those surroundings. You make that error the first time, and then the ball comes to you the second time, not long after, and your instinct is not to clear the ball, relieving pressure, but to keep the ball. I knew at that point the whole thing had crystallized. Call it a turning point, even vindication. These guys believed in what we were doing. He added, there was no way I was going back after that. This young kid had put his nuts on the line because I'd asked him to, because I'd sold the story of the journey upon which we were embarking. He could have cleared the ball, especially the second time it came to him, and many people would have applauded it. We wouldn't have conceded those goals, but that wasn't our concern. Our aim was higher, our vision longer than this one game at Amy Park and the 3 points up for grabs. We lost that game 3-0. It carries on, but quite powerful stuff, really, I think. You know, it's a really interesting insight into his mindset. Someone that's not going to punish the player, but applaud him, reward him, recognize him, acknowledge him for doing what is asked of him. So the manager essentially is taking one for the team. And I would ask you guys, do you think that Tottenham fans will have that same patience if, let's say, we haven't signed a new centre-back that we hope we will by the start of the season, right? The window goes on for a couple more weeks. Let's say that Laporte or Lukeba or Hincapi or whoever it is hasn't come in, and we start the game with Longley or Eric Dier at the back, and that situation happens away at Brentford, or maybe in the second game, the home game against Manchester United. And do you think that the crowd will turn? Do you think, I mean, he basically said the crowd were turning in that particular example, but the bigger picture was more important, that the players were learning and were getting on board it. And obviously it all worked out well in the end. What are your thoughts on that, guys? Do you think it's nice to see? And do you think that Tottenham fans will put up with the same thing? I think that girl just messaged you, Sean. She heard you talking crap about her. I miss her so much, Nick. Oh, 24Z. I miss her so much, mate. Nick saying, yeah, now seems everyone in the squad was playing with injury except Kane. I hear Sanchez has had head trauma for 5 seasons. Yeah, it's true, isn't it? Everyone suddenly is coming out with injury woes. SOF's in the house. What's happening, SOF? Good to see you, mate. We don't need more attacking players unless Kane, Son, or Richarlison leave. If we were in Europe, the Mins would be there. I fear a new player would just sit on the bench and become frustrated. You don't think we need new attacking players? We're playing with the front three, and at the moment we have Sonny, Kane, Kulusevski, and Richarlison. Are you including Brian Hill in that, SOF? I guess you would be. But there were times this season when we had three players out injured. If we had three forwards out injured at the same time this season, we'd only have 2 players left. We definitely need. Well, I don't know what are you saying. We don't need. So you're saying we don't need Maddison at all either? Would you, or are you talking about forwards, wing forwards? Let me know. The high press system needs a hella backline. It does indeed. Echo. It does, mate. It really does. What's he saying here? Would Traore from Wolves suit Ange's system? He's fast and beats players. I know he can't score, but you think he can. But do you think he can suit Big Ange's system? I think the problem with him is he's such a he plays on the break, right? He's a break merchant, so I don't think he would suit the system particularly. Like his ability to knock the ball past someone and go is very good, but he's usually brought on whenever he's played for Wolves. You know, when the teams are when teams are pressing against them and they can break, when they get the transition and just put it into space, and he charges down at lightning speed. There's parts of his game that would suit the Postecoglou system, but I personally think he should have, if he was going to come to Tottenham, he should have signed for Tottenham 2 years ago, like under the Conte system. I think he would have been a more utilised asset off the bench in that system when we played the counter. I don't think we'll see him, unfortunately, whatever. I would have liked to have seen him in the Tottenham shirt. I'm a big fan of his. 380 people in the house, guys. Do me a favour, smash the like button if you haven't already. Smash the subscribe on the channel if you haven't already. Drop the notification bell. Laporte for 40 million euros and Lukeba for 20 will solve our centre-back issues. 40 million for Maddison solves our central midfield issue. Maybe another 20 million for India, and that's a good window. And of course, 30 million for Raya. 40, 60, 100, 120, 150. That is a good window. That is a good window. So who would be back up to who would be back up to Romero then? Would you keep Eric Dier? Or would you keep Sanchez? Or would you keep Rodon? Who would you keep? I like that. It's not a bad window, though. Not a bad window at all. When is Dier? What do I know? Is that the guy from Sheffield United? Yeah. I liked him. I liked him against us. I liked him many times last season when I saw him in the FA Cup. Hearing that really excites me. Yes, it will be tough at times, but the result long term could be amazing. I'm fully behind him. I really hope you. I hope you are, mate. So am I, Nige. I'm going to be patient. I'm not going to start turning or getting concerned or tutting. I might be getting a season ticket as well, guys. Tomorrow morning, I'm like still 60-odd thousandth in the on the wait list, but I've been put into pool 1. So at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, I can see if I can get a season ticket, and so it'd be nice to be able to get there every week or every other week and support Tottenham and the Ange rebuild. The crowd would turn on Levy. That's interesting, actually. Yeah, you're probably right, Sean. You're probably right, mate. You know, I say that phrase in my head all the time. You're probably right, Sean. I don't usually say it out loud. Crowd would turn on Levy. Yeah, they would. They're not going to turn on Postecoglou. Yeah, 100%, mate. 100%. Good to see you, mate. Dry Roast Peanuts is saying, yes, but not at Ange. Yeah, 100%. Good point. The Levy out chance. Yeah, perfect. I think you're all saying the same thing. Mate, if we still have Dier when the season starts, I'll lose my nut. You can't sell a man who's undergoing surgery. He knows the game. He knows the game. No one's going to buy him. That's why there's no need for surgery, but he's decided the only way I'm going to stay at Tottenham and get my potential new contract for risk of losing me on a free next year is by me going under the knife, them knowing that they can't sell me this summer, and then they'll get me on a new contract so they can sell me later. So he'll have unnecessary surgery just to prolong his Tottenham career. Well, that's the sort of thing that Eric Dier would do. Jason Phipps, first third of the season, if the football was genuinely a crazy joy to watch, I think once we move into the winter season, and if the maths looks bad, I don't think we'll be that understanding. Yeah, I think the only problem happens, I agree, if we're like sitting 16th or 17th and it's just been a complete disaster, yeah, then I think you might have an issue there. Spurs crowd won't give him time, says Brownie. Yeah, maybe. I'm out of patience with leaving the onus their head be it. Christian Van Wyk. Good to see you, mate. Good to see you. Respect the honesty, Sean. Dog walks are the way. Forget about her by staring at the trees and nature. Let's stop talking about her. We need one more attack. We know one more attacker. Moura and Danjuma have gone. I think we do as well. Given how disastrous the last 4 years have been, it'll be breath of fresh air. Yeah. His name's Jeff. What's happening, Jeff? Ron. Missing Bugsy on the naughty step again, Sean. Glad everything's going well. Yeah, thanks, Kate. Appreciate that. We gave patience to boring defensive football and under ultra defensive managers. If we don't allow time for an ultra attacking one, why complain now? Couldn't agree more. Do I think Pascozzi, who is right-footed, can play left-sided centre-back, right-sided centre-back, right-back, could be more involved for us this season? Do I think he could be more involved? I do think he could be more involved. There's a couple of young guys back there, isn't there? I've never seen Pascozzi like really stand out, if I'm honest. like I know a lot of people think very highly of him. Whenever I've watched the under-21s, the under-23s, I've never really done. There you go. Yeah, I've never really seen Postecoglou like stand out for me. I do like that Alfie Dorrington. I think he's going to be a really good player. But you know, I remember watching him. I think it was the under-18s or the under-17s cup. Under-18s, it must have been when he broke out of defence against Forest. I think it was Forest, or was it Villa? I can't remember which one it was. But listen, there's a massive jump. There's a huge jump between that level on the under-21 or the Premier League 2. By the way, the Premier League 2 we got relegated from, so that team isn't that good. And then the gap again above it. Personally, I think that they should never have ditched the reserves, or we should send people out on loan, because I just think the under-20, like that Premier League 2 thing that we have, I just don't think it's fit for purpose. We should be sending players out on loan the second that they're even close to getting ready for professional football, like Premier League football. If Postecoglou is good enough, then he should be out on loan. He should have been out on loan the last year or two. To bring him in right now and into Premier League football, it's a massive risk. They got to learn on that. They got to learn on someone else's time, in my opinion, more often, more frequently than they do. Darren's saying some of our fan base can be toxic. A lot of them are praying Postecoglou don't work out just to turn it to get the fans bored for Nick out. Yeah, there's always some fans like that do everything, won't they? Do anything they can. Let's have a look. You love Bugsy Malone? I'll let her know, Angelo. I will let her know. Who is the young lad from Bristol City? Alex Scott. I like Alex Scott. I think he's a super high talent. Well, this is what I was saying yesterday. Like I think that the way to get that deal done, which is will behoove both clubs, would be if they want, let's say they want 20 million or 25 million, give them 15 million up front, make the next 7 million, 8 million of the deal pending certain outcomes, like performance-related pay, but make those things achievable and realistic, and then also stretch out and say we'll pay you another 5 million, or add 20% sell-on fee, something like that. I think with and make those last parts of the deal more creative and longer term vision, so that if he's as big of a success as Bristol think he is, and Tottenham would hope he is, then it suits everybody. Like there's no problem in paying an extra 5 million or an extra 10 million if he goes on and hits ridiculous numbers of goals or assists or minutes on the pitch or whatever. Or throw in that sell-on clause. Like you have to. I would imagine that the best way to structure that deal would be to talk to Bristol and say, look, it's a risk. You want the most money you can possibly get. We're happy to pay you more than what you want, but over a longer period of time, pending him becoming the player that you tell us he's going to be. And it would, there's a risk on our side that he doesn't do it. How many players have Tottenham, let alone every other club, bought for big money from that level that haven't worked out? And so, I think that you have to get quite creative with those sorts of deals, and you hope that Bristol will see the kind of keep their eye on the ball and see the bigger picture, see the wood for the trees for their own finances. Good to see you, Carl. We'll save it for another time. 24, 100%, mate. Tosin from Fulham might be a good option. Yeah, I like Tosin. He's a no nonsense, mate. He's good at bringing the ball out. Big, strong, tall, fast as well. Good concentration from what I've seen of him. Positionally, he's very good. I think strength and composure, presence is a good thing. Especially if Tottenham are going to go and get any of these smaller guys. Like there's links obviously with Kyogo. There's links with Rio Hatate. That if Tottenham were to go and buy some of these, if Brian Hill becomes more, comes back and plays some part in the squad, Tottenham's average height is going to drop. So what you're going to need then is the people that are taller, the people that can defend, the people that are good in the air. They need to be excellent. They need to be big, commanding presences. And whilst Tottenham, I think, naturally have got one of the tallest average heights, basically everybody last season was around the same. They were all like 6 foot, 6'1.5", 6'1". Very few big guys. Whereas a lot of other teams have got 2-3 players that are absolute monsters. You know, look at Newcastle, have got monsters, and I think Brighton have got a couple of monsters. Bournemouth have got a couple of monsters, and Tottenham don't. I'm not saying Tosin's a monster; he's not. But I just think we need people that are that have got a big presence, that are confident, commanding in the air. Jeremy Doku. Listen, I love this guy. I love Doku. He is like Energizer Bunny version of Traore, isn't he? He is ridiculous. Where's it? Reims he plays for. Rem, Ari. Let me have a look. Let's have a look at him. There are links. I've seen those links today. Is it Reims? Ren. It's Ren. Rennes. Yeah. He's an exciting player. A really exciting player. Another player, though, that doesn't have much of the finished product just yet. It's amazing. Isn't it amazing how many players, guys, that have this ridiculous footwork where they can do like 100 step overs in the time it would take me to do one? That they've got these incredible ability and the pace and the acceleration, but don't have the kind of calmness of mind to slow down and think before they put the final act on. It's almost like a consequence of having these ridiculous fast twitch muscle fibers that they also think too fast as well, but in a bad way. Like they rush everything. They rush with their feet. They rush it, but then they can't calm down and show composure when it comes to finishing and crossing and picking out the pass. I don't know if you noticed the same, but there's lots of players that are like that. Brilliant at the trickery, brilliant at the speed, but then also can't slow down when need be. Let me get forward to where do we get to? Doku is the next generation of Belgium. Yeah, he really is. Defense is important, not wingers. 100%. 100%. That's why I prefer players like Decky. Says 24. I agree, mate. But I think having a balance is cool. Like I always said, like with Traore, the problem with Traore is he's so fast that the other players can't keep up with him. When he's breaking, there's no they can't get to where he's got to fast enough. But with Tottenham, you could have foresaw situations where Sonny could have joined with his pace. And there were scenarios where you could have seen him not have to make those crosses, just look up, find the pass and slow it down. But you're absolutely right. Players like Decky don't have the blistering pace, but can use their intelligence in different ways. You can't have both. No, nice ass, no boobs. 100%. This channel is becoming somewhat Tottenham, somewhat Andrew Tate this morning. It's not supposed to be. But you can't have it. You can't have it all. Exactly. You can't have it all in life, Peanut. You can't. Combine both and you have it all. Exactly. That's what they practice when players like Kane practice hitting the net. That's true, actually, mate. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, 100%. It's like David Beckham. He used to spend, I remember reading books about David Beckham when he was like 13, 14, and his mates were going out, wherever, down in East London, causing trouble. He'd rather just bang a ball against the side of his house or the side of the houses on the street and just practice crossing like into a brick wall all the time. But I'm guessing more skillful players are more interested in doing dribbles and things. 100%. Mia saying that is not true. You can have everything. Lana Rhodes. Big boss man, no guest today, mate. No guest. I just thought I'd just jump on and see where we're at. I wanted to talk to you about other things. I've gone through the Ange Postecoglou story. There was something else I wanted to get off my chest. We've done with Pepe. We've done Kulusevski. We've done Eric Dier. We've done Ndiaye. We've done Jeremy Doku. There's a story here about, I don't know if this is, it should be interesting to us or to me, but it's not particularly. I only saw this one. So apparently Celtic's owner has stepped in to make sure that Tottenham can't poach any more of their backroom staff. Dermot Desmond has again pulled rank after demanding that Gavin Strachan stays at Parkhead. The 44-year-old was targeted along with John Kennedy by Ange Postecoglou who was keen to take his trusted Hoops backroom team members to Tottenham Hotspur with him, but the Greek Aussie, that's really sloppy from the Daily Record. You're a Scottish newspaper, mate. Come on. Can't you even just do some spell checks? Postecoglou has had to turn to Brendan Rodgers' former number 2, Chris Davies, to fill the assistant role, and Record Sport can exclusively reveal that Irish billionaire and majority Celtic shareholder has intervened to ensure Strachan won't be heading to London either as he prepares to stay for the Rodgers era. I've got no idea what this guy Strachan is like, but it basically says that Tottenham, that Postecoglou is having to look elsewhere for another member of staff, and we can reveal that Australian Mile Jedinak is the man he wants. I don't know who this guy is. Where is he currently? Mile Jedinak is an Australian former professional footballer who served as the captain of Australian national team. He's currently the lone player development coach at Aston Villa. Oh. 38 years old. He's got a beard to die for. Don't know much about him. Let me know if any of you guys do. But, yeah, looks like he might be joining the team. Well, it's interesting to me about that whole thing with him not having, like, he travels around the world, goes wherever he goes, but does it all, you know. I was under the impression that he doesn't take anyone with him and he kind of figures it out. He sort of works with whoever's given to him. And that to me comes across as like a winning personality type, that he can just turn his charm on and get anyone to kind of kick into his system. Or maybe it says something else. I don't know. Tamad is saying Mile Jedinak was also Crystal Palace's captain a number of years ago. Was he? There you go, mate. Captain Crystal Palace. Look at you guys with the knowledge. Good work. Over 400 in the house, guys. Please hit your like button on the way in or on your way out if you're leaving. Also hit the subscribe button for me. Can we let me see where we're up to with that. What are we up to? We're two away from 8,900. So it'd be really cool if anyone who hasn't hit the subscribe yet can get me over the 8,900. Then we're less than 100 away from 9K, 1,100 from the 10K. It's been a wonderful month for the channel. It's been a scary month for Sean, but we're getting past it. Bournemouth manager has been sacked. I've read this twice now. Let me see what's going on there. Why? Why would they have sacked him? Gary O'Neill. You reckon that's anything to do with? I mean, he did really well last season. Gary O'Neill. Is it anything to do maybe with what's happened with regards that manager who's been arrested for having unwanted intercourse with a teenager? Gary O'Neill old enough, or Gary O'Neill said yes? See what I did there? Little play on words. I've got to say allegedly. because I'm only spitballing. Bournemouth has sacked Gary O'Neill less than 7 months after he was appointed as the club's permanent manager. The 40-year-old took charge as interim boss after Scott Parker was sacked in August, then was appointed on a permanent basis in November. He won 10 of his 34 league games in charge last season, guiding Bournemouth to a 15th place finish. This has been a difficult decision. It has been made with great consideration to best position ourselves ahead of the coming season. Gary will go on to have a long career as a head coach or manager, but we feel that at this moment in time, a change is in the best interest of this football club. Bournemouth have said they will announce O'Neill's successor imminently. Am I right in thinking, guys, that the Bournemouth chairman sacked Scott Parker, didn't he? Didn't he sack Scott Parker because Scott Parker was moaning about last summer's transfer window? I think he did. I swear he sacked Scott Parker, and this guy came in. Gary O'Neill came in August because Scott Parker complained about the budget he had, or the man, what am I saying? No, I'm not. I'm definitely not saying that. No, sorry. When I said O'Neill old enough, no, I'm not saying that. But the story was that it's a teenager, and it's not even about Gary O'Neill. It was a joke. I'm just messing around. I was like seeing if you could play with, like, you know, with the word, like name association or whatever, with the manager's and their names who might be connected to this story. I've got no inside information. I'm sure Gary O'Neill has been fired for footballing reasons, of course. Let me go. Let's move on again. Twice now. I've had to move away from conversations before I put my foot in my mouth. This is why I need guests on. Monologues. Monologues can get me in trouble. Speculation maybe that Lampard's going to Bournemouth. By speculation, they suggested it on TalkSport. Or then Bournemouth are going down next season. Have you ever seen a manager get more cracks of the whip but fail so consistently? I don't know why they would want Lampard. Why not? They want Lampard. The owner said that O'Neill will have a long, successful career. Not likely if he's about to be. Yeah, I was only joking, guys. I was only just mucking around. Perch Army raid. Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know Perchy was even live. Big up, Mark. Good to see you, mate. Total Hotspurs. Good to see you, mate. Mile Jedinak is an Australian former professional soccer player who captained Crystal Palace from 2000. Yeah. Okay. The Daily Echo. Oh, sorry. Yes, that's right. So he was the guy. Okay. So this Bournemouth owner then is just what's his name? Bill Foley. Oh, Bill Foley. Hang on a minute. Bill Foley is also the guy. Where is it? I'm going to give you a little insight here to something I'm working on for you lovely people. I'm building a video on multi-club ownership, right? And it's gonna. But where's the bit about Bill Foley that I was doing? Where is it? Is this him? Yeah. Bill Foley. He owns Black Knight Football and Entertainment Group. Completed his takeover of Bournemouth in early December, and barely a month later, he acquired a 33% stake in French club Lorient. Right, but check this out. Lorient's Ultras group, Merlis Ultras 1995, responded by publishing an open letter expressing deep concern, saying that Lorient had been boasting for years of being a family club with a strong identity and its own philosophy of play. So why introduce an American into its capital who knows nothing of our history? A little bit of xenophobia there, but basically he wanted to turn Lorient into a feeder club for Bournemouth. This guy, yeah, Black Knight Football. I think he owns a couple of teams in American sports as well. Apparently a real no-nonsense guy. So we think that Daniel Levy is doesn't allow or doesn't like managers talking back to him or demanding things. Certainly this guy Bill Foley looks like he won't have it. He won't have people telling him off or telling him what he wants. What we got? Bristol City want 28 million for Alex Scott. I am right about it. Yeah, good. I worry about my memory sometimes. What's happening, Perchy? I didn't even know you were live, mate. Sorry, bro. I hope you had a good stream. We'll be rolling off, rounding up in a little while. It's a fake Todd Bowley. Did look a bit like him, didn't it? Bring Harry Redknapp back as backroom go-between. Yeah. Good to see you all, guys. Good to see all the Perch Army. Barely a Polanski. Oh. Listen, I'm walking away. I am walking away from any more references to anything Andrew Tate related today. I feel like this conversation, without even needing to mention his name, that there's so many different takes on things that could be related to that. Let's walk away from it. He knows the dark arts of which being lots. Bill Foley just changed identity from Todd Bowley. Oh, was that Todd Bowley? Was that Todd Bowley on the? No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. That picture I put up was Bill Foley. What are you saying? You calling me out? No chance. A family club does not mean family friendly. It means internally corrupt. Yeah, it's a good point, Ian. It's a good point. And their fan base just didn't want Americans. Didn't want American owners. They want to keep it French. Keep it out of foreigners' hands, I guess. Big up, Sean. Big up, Phil. Good to see you, mate. There's enough shade in the valley to build more internally. He's just overgrown. aren't ultras all about xenophobia? I don't know too much about ultras, really, Echo. I don't know, mate. Honestly, I remember seeing recently that like the fans and the manager had to go over and like apologize. I think it was like, was it AC Milan? I think it might have been AC Milan, or was it Fiorentina? They lost a game, and the ultras fans like were screaming and shouting at them after the match, and they all had to kind of go over and like apologize or something. I don't know. It was AC, wasn't it, Phil? Yeah. Yeah. Links to Max Kilman, Total Hotspur. Listen, like I said before, mate, I think Max Kilman is a sensible option. He's a good player in all departments that you need him to be. He's not great at anything. He's a jack of all trades. He's tall. He's not blessed with pace, but he's not slow. He's experienced though. He knows the Premier League. He knows the pace. He knows the players. He's intelligent as a person, apparently. I think he's a logical choice, but it doesn't excite me. It doesn't excite me. If he is the guy that comes in as our starting left-sided, left-footed centre-back to play alongside Romero, if you were like an accountant, he would probably be not Daniel Levy type accountant, but like someone who's just got like a kind of logical head. You'd probably say it makes sense. But to me, it's underwhelming and doesn't really excite me too much. Good at a lot of things, not great at anything. Oh, I didn't know you always did the 12 o'clock daily, mate. Sorry, buddy. I didn't realise that. Didn't mean to tread. The only reason I was doing a live stream in the first place, purchase, because Bugsy Malone was on the naughty step. She wouldn't let me do a video without barking. Yeah. So look, the last thing I want to talk to you about, guys, before I leave you, I'm going to wrap up in 15 minutes, but I just want to show you on the Y Scout tool, right? Where are we? Where are you? Here we go. So, oh, hang on. No, actually, that's not what I want to show you yet. No, actually, I'll read it out. You haven't got to see this, but basically, it says on that football.london article from Ali Gold, who was talking about what the positions that Tottenham need to fill. He's going through all of the defensive options and stuff, which we've spoken about ad nauseum. But it says Spurs will look to find a young winger who fits the Postecoglou requirements of having the ability to beat a man with pace or skill, be strong in the transition, and be able to press high up the pitch in order to regain possession. And so I thought, well, let's have a quick look-see and see, what are the kind of attributes that you would need for that, right? So obviously we need someone with age. And if it's someone who's young, we'll just start at like 26, just as a starting point. We can turn it down in a minute. I've got the positional player, someone who's out on the wings on the top left here. You can see on the left side, the right side, or who can play through the middle. Competitions, I'll leave everybody in there. We want someone who's played at least 2,000 minutes last season. I'll do that in a second. In terms of attacking, we're looking at someone who's good at who's good at doing the pressing. That all these things you need for him to do. So offensive duels 1, pressing duels 1, successful attacking options or attacking actions per 90. You're also going to need someone who is who's good at dribbling, successful dribbles, who does progressive runs per 90. Let's throw in a few assists as well, and accelerations per 90, because we want someone who's fast, right? In terms of key passing, you also want someone who can do accurate passes into the final third. And that's kind of it, right? There's loads of other things, but just to kind of get an indication. So if we start with successful dribbles, we obviously know we need someone who's going to be good at dribbling. So if we put that at 50% or 50, no, let's go, it's a bit higher than that. Let's get up to 54%. Pressing duels per 90. We need to have someone that can get involved with the press to a high degree. Just under 3 will do. Offensive duels 1, someone who's capable of that at least 33% of the time. Someone who's got a few assists. Accelerations per 90 is important as well. Accurate passes into the final third is very important. We're down to 300 people across world football that have got these stats, right? And then successful attacking actions per 90 at least. Let's say 3. No, let's go more up. More up than that. I think we can probably rule out certain people if we put in the market value and limit them at. Let's say we're not going to pay any more than. We're not going to pay any more than 50 million for a player. Same names pop out, and this guy. This is the one. Let me just check. You guys can still see what I'm talking about, right? You still with me, guys? Saka is dominating Gunners. Yeah, he's a very good player, right? But I've got rid of him because he's too much money and he's not going to come to Tottenham. Interesting that Steven Bergwijn is a good candidate here. But I said yesterday, you know how much I really like this player, Mohamed Kudus, right? I think he's going to be an absolute world class in 2-3 years' time. I think he's going to be a world class player. Where I'm actually going to go though is even that they said they want someone young. The reason I kept this at 26, I think I've ruled him out suddenly by adding one of these additional things in here. But I was going to point out James Maddison essentially ticks all of the boxes normally. But if we drag it down to someone who's much younger, the same names keep popping up that we mentioned a lot. But there's an extra person in here, and this guy here. Yesterday, we talked about him and we talked about Eze. And I said, I don't think that Tottenham are going, I don't think that Crystal Palace are going to sell both of them. They're already losing Zaha, right? And they don't want to completely disrupt their entire attacking formation. To me, I wonder whether or not Michael Olise is actually the guy to go for of the two at Crystal Palace. He won't cost anything like as much as Eze will. Eze is a very talented player, a brilliant player. I'm sure Tottenham would love him. I'm sure a lot of teams would absolutely love him. But I wonder whether or not Olise might fly under the radar a little bit in relative valuations. And he does everything that combination of things that we need for the Postecoglou system wants, right? He can press. He's good at, he's young. He's fast. He's got amazing accelerations. He's brilliant at offensive duels. He gets stuck in. He can cross the ball. He can shoot. He scores goals. He creates. He scores assists. And he's brilliant at putting the final third, the passes into the final third, his key passes, his assists. They're all there. And he's relatively undervalued. I know you're also going to see my boy Andreas Skov Olsen, who is always there. No matter what I put in for a Postecoglou system, he always rocks up. Always rocks up. There's the boy Kang In Lee, which I think we've just lost. He's gone to, is it PSG he's gone to? We know Kubo. We spoke about him before, guys. Who's a wonderful player. But I think someone told me he's actually agreed terms to go to Barcelona, is it? And what about Nonto? Does anyone fancy this guy? 18 million euros he's valued at. He's only 19 years old. Another really, really small player, though. And again, it's a concern for me to keep constantly being linked with players that are 5'7", 5'8", because you're going to get beaten up by big players. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Let's see what the chat's saying. Where do we go to? Where did I get to? Jeremy Doku for the Postecoglou winger, hands down, says Pearson Bovel. Yeah, we spoke about Doku, mate. We really like him on the Spurs Talk Show. A bid in for Raya soon, he says Kate. Well, let's hope so. Let's really hope so. Kudos, what a player. Yeah, he really is, mate. Good to see you, Gunners Galore. Hope you're okay. Kubo is another one. Yep. Reese is saying he likes Olise. So Ange need players that Conte didn't want. Two different systems, Chem. Two different systems, mate. You know. Brennan Johnson, says Foggy Phone, the Nottingham Forest player. 30 million quid. How long is it? Brennan Johnson's only just gone to Forest, though, last season, didn't he? I'm not sure where he came from or what his history is. Yeah. Wonderful player, though. Wonderful player. Olise hasn't got any XG, right? Very low red flag. Let's have a look. 3.06 over the course of the season. Yeah, he only scored 2 goals, so he should have got 1 goal more than he did. Look at Kudos. Bang on. 19.97 XG, 20 goals. When this guy is supposed to score, he scores. He finishes his dinner every single time. Love to see it. Love to see that from Kudos. Really, really big fan of him. Really big fan of him. Look at my boy Skov Olsen, though. Was only supposed to score 6.5. So was I supposed to score 6.5? All right, don't worry about it. I'll just give you 10, right? I'll just throw an extra 3.5 goals just because I can. Just because I can. This guy, Tottenham should be getting him. I can't speak about this. Whoever signs this guy is going to be a very, very lucky, fortunate team. I absolutely adore this guy. Let me get rid of that for now so I can get my big face back on the screen. You're right, though, Cratch. He hasn't got a good XG. It is a bit of a red flag, perhaps, yeah. But then again, it comes down to how Crystal Palace play. We get beaten up by all anyhow. Lol. Yeah, we do, yeah. I don't know. I do worry about having too many small players. I don't mind it so much if you've got 2 or 3 monsters in there, but we haven't got any monsters. We've had this conversation a minute ago. Everyone's 6'1". Darius in the house was happening. Darius Vasilionkaitis. I haven't said your name for ages, but I haven't forgotten how to say it. That is the important thing. Skov Olsen looks so good right now. Yeah, he does, man. I love him. I love him. I wish I could be Tottenham's new database director of football. I'm just getting my head around it, though. Let me know, guys. Listen, it's been going for an hour and 25 minutes. 395, you're still in the house. It's been wonderful. Listen, to me, I don't know how I managed to squeeze out an hour and a half of talking to you. There's very little to talk about today. But we did it. And that's the important thing. As a team, we did it. Please smash the like button for me. Smash the subscribe if you haven't already. Did we manage to get over? There's 2 things I've got to check before we go. Did we manage to get over 8,900? Have we done that yet? We are now on 8901. Well done, team. Locked in chat. Appreciate that. And lastly, did we manage to stay? Oh, shut up, Sean. Did we manage to stay approved for? No, it's turned limited. Why? Why? This is ridiculous. I didn't swear. Maybe it was talking about Latinos and Andrew Tate stuff. Oh well. The Kulu vid. What did I put in the Kulu vid? Did I show a video? Anyway, guys, that's it from me. Please smash the like on your way out. Smash the subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you tomorrow either on a Tottenham walk with the Bugsy or right back here. Like, subscribe, and comment, guys. Love you. Have a wonderful Monday, whatever you're doing, wherever you are in the world. And as always, bye-bye.